Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. When you're starting over in your life, it seems like it's the end of the world, and I'm speaking from experience. So with that being said, welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, Ty Guidance. Let's just get straight into today's video. Just because you have to start over, or you're being redirected, or you're being rerouted, or you have to take a step back, doesn't mean it's your time to give up on yourself or that you cannot move forward. The reason why a lot of times we feel stuck and stagnant when we have to start over, when we lose certain people, places, and things, is because it's unfamiliar and it's unknowing. And sometimes when you're not confident in yourself, the unknown can cause you to have fears. It can cause you to doubt yourself. It can cause you to have insecurities or just not feel like you are worthy, and that's not true. So in this video, we're going to go over the importance of starting over, what to expect, some recommendations, and just giving yourself grace, because it's like when you go through so many trials and tribulations by yourself, or you were never taught how to articulate your feelings, or you never were taught resilience or perseverance or to keep going, or you never had anybody believe in you, or you never had any type of belief system, it is challenging. It is difficult. But just because certain things are challenging in the beginning or in the moment doesn't mean your entire life has to stay like that. Like, who says that you have to stay stuck and stagnant for the rest of your life just because you're learning in life? Once you learn that your life is meant for you to live and you have free will to do as you please, you won't be so hard on yourself. You won't be so quick to criticize yourself. You will start to give yourself grace, and that's what you need. Anything that you do for the first time, anything you do that's different from your routine and what you've been installed for the first time, is going to take a lot of undivided attention and energy. So as you're learning to focus on what you need to do in order for you to grow, you have to accept what has happened to you previously. The whole purpose of you starting over, moving, taking a step back, losing certain people, places, and things is to realize the opportunities that you've experienced, to realize the lessons that you've had to endure, whether they were negative, positive, whether they were for a short amount of time, a long amount of time, or they were just in the moment. Like, it's for you to install all of the information that you've experienced and apply it. So for example, if you're starting over, like physically, you had to move, you had to relocate because maybe your finances weren't how they were, or maybe you never had them and certain things happened to you. It's for you to realize in those times that just because you had to physically move, just because you maybe got fired, just because maybe you don't have a job right now, or maybe you don't have somewhere to live, or maybe you're used to living a certain type of way, that you were in those moments for a reason, and they were valuable lessons that you were supposed to reflect on. When you learn how to self-reflect in your trials and tribulations instead of beating yourself up about what has happened to you, you gain perspective and you gain wisdom. And when you learn to open your mind, when you learn to remove the limits and release any blockages from you, you will no longer feel stagnant. So when you are starting over, or you're starting something for the first time in your life, you have to be mindful. Learning to be mindful takes time, because every single day is a new day. Out of your entire life, you're going to go through a lot, because that's the whole purpose of life, is to evolve, is to grow, right? So it's like when you've been conditioned to certain environments for 20, 30, 40 years, you have to realize that affected you. It affected you psychologically, it affected you emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, or however. So it's like that is a part of who you were. So like if you grew up in dysfunction and corruption and you decide to heal yourself, or you decide to separate yourself from family and friends and environments that are no longer serving you, it's going to make you feel some type of way because that's all you knew. So it's like being mindful, accepting that life is about expansion, life is about education, and just doing what makes sense to you, will allow you to be present. And that's the second thing. In order for you to start over in life, or just be rerouted, or be redirected, tongue twister, you have to be present. And with being present, which is going to be the third thing, is accepting how you feel. Just because you went through certain things in your life doesn't mean that it wasn't, valid. But once you learn how to be vulnerable, which is the fourth thing, I'm going through these like really quickly. Once you learn how to be vulnerable and you express what has happened to you, everything that you went through was just an experience. Just like right now, as you're watching this on YouTube, like we're constantly living in experiences every single day, and you're going to continue to experience life until you're not here no more physically. And that's what a lot of people may not be aware of, right? And we'll talk about that later. So, trigger warning, nothing is going to be set in stone forever. So it's like learning to be present, learning to be mindful, validating your experience, learning what you've learned, and moving forward, like, and being patient. Like, being patient applies to every area of your life. The more you can practice being patient, the more you realize just because you're being redirected, just because you have to take a step back, just because you lost certain things, doesn't mean that's your value. So just because you have to outgrow people in life doesn't mean that you don't love them or that they're any less of you. It just means the time that you have no longer is compatible, or you guys are just growing apart for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be negative. And even if the situations that you experienced were negative, you know now, as you self-reflect, as you were separated, as you took a step back, how certain things played out and what it was. And sometimes we do have to lose certain people, places, and things in order for us to realize what we really want in our life. And just because you lose certain family members, just because you lose certain materials, doesn't mean that there aren't more of those things that you can experience. Like, I don't like the word replace, because when it comes to people, you cannot replace people. You can replace a car, you can replace tangible and material and monetary items, but people's energy cannot be replaced. So it's like when it comes to people, it makes more sense why people are more like emotional about it, because that's a genuine connection. Materials, you can always buy a car, you can always buy a house. People, learn to appreciate the people that are in your life for the season, because once the season changes, so are the people. Same thing with you, like taking a step back doesn't have to be negative. And that's what I really want you to focus on. And I'm speaking from experience, just because, for example, I've moved so many times in my life. Out of the 27 years of my life, I've moved more than like 7, 10 times. I've seen a lot of people. I've lost a lot of materials. I've been fired one time. I've only been fired once. Like, I've had so many jobs. Like, I've had to experience so much in life to realize what I wanted, what was for me, and what's not. And me having to go through these situations, I never felt bad, because I know what I go through. And that's another thing. Like, when you're starting over, you have to be redirected. You're the only person who genuinely knows what you go through. It doesn't matter what people see on the outside, because they don't know how you feel internally. And me personally, from experience, a lot of people see me go through certain things and do certain things, but they were never there for me internally, like how you are for yourself. So it's like, you don't have nothing to prove. You don't need to be embarrassed. You don't need to feel shame, and you don't have to attach yourself to that. Like, I'm not embarrassed about anything that I had to go through, because I know, once again, behind the scenes, how it made me feel. So it's like, you have to validate yourself. You have to accept that you learn in life. And honestly, if you learn from what has happened to you in your past and you didn't like it, or you realize it's not helping you, it's not adding any value, it's not expanding your growth, your mindset, or finances, remove it. And don't be afraid to remove it. Like, who cares what people think about you? We all have the same 24 hours in life, but we all don't have the same access and the same privileges to life. So it's like, do what makes sense to you. Listen to what applies. So always take what resonates, leave the rest. If it doesn't resonate, it doesn't have to. Like, worrying about people, places, and things who don't know you personally, who do not genuinely want you to do well or get to know you on that type of level of intimacy, it doesn't matter. Like, starting over doesn't have to be negative. If anything, look at it as an opportunity, and like changing your mindset when it comes to you starting over will actually feel better about yourself, because when you learn to accept that this is a new opportunity for you to grow, or for you to actually get to where you need to be, you won't feel distracted or discouraged, because sometimes we think we want certain things, or we think we're supposed to experience certain people, places, and things, and because we're not where we need to be, because we know genuinely deep down inside what we want to do, or as we're learning who we are, as we become conscious, you will realize the reason why certain things were taken away from you, or you had to go through certain things, was to show you what wasn't for you. And I can personally say that from my personal experience. Like, I experienced, I would say, 80 to 90% of things in my life because I was not where I needed to be. So it's like when you don't have the guidance, you don't have the wisdom, you don't have the support, you don't have the finances, like I said in the beginning of this video, it can seem challenging, it can seem overwhelming, and it can seem like a lot. But it's like we have to pace ourselves, we have to be patient, we have to be mindful, we have to validate, we have to learn, and we just have to know that as long as we're showing up, as long as we're finding ways to educate ourselves, we're taking our time, you're doing the best that you can. You can't rush the process. Like, you have to learn how to be patient. That's just what it is. You will get through the difficult times that you're going through, because nothing in life lasts forever. So don't give up on yourself. Don't worry about when you're supposed to do certain things. If people are not financing you, feeding you, contributing into your success, or you becoming the best version of you, it doesn't matter. Reroute as many times as you need to. Learn why you're being redirected. If you can learn why you're being redirected, if you can learn why certain people, places, and things are being removed out of your life, if you can learn why you feel the way you do to certain people, places, things, and environments, you will understand, like, okay, this was taken away from me because there's something that I had to learn about myself. There are certain boundaries that I need to put up. Maybe there are certain boundaries that you needed to let go of. Maybe you had to change the way of thinking. You had to change the way how you internalize situations or process information or accept things, because in order to grow, you have to be willing, you have to be open-minded, and you have to be willing and wanting to receive it. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, and this video resonates with you, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you're commenting down below, subscribe, turn on your post notification bell, follow me on all social media platforms. All information will be down in the description box below. And if you want a one-on-one session, head to my website at tyguidanceinsummer.com. But just because you start over in life doesn't mean it has to be negative. Thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.